Alrighty, what is up, everybody? Welcome into another spoiler alert episode. I guess we'll call it. It's a mini episode. It's just me. We're gonna end up doing the full episode here on Sunday after we see Fantastic Four. Ty already saw it. I still need to see it, and then we're doing Happy Gilmore 2 tonight. So we wanted to get in some more movies here before we did our full episode, but wanted to get something out this week. So I'm gonna go through some of the movies I've been watching, new and old. The new movies that I have watched that Ty has already seen, and did the convince me to seize and all that. There's some that I have now watched, so I'm going to give kind of my side there of how I felt about these films, because usually we don't kind of do that catch up. If one of us does a convince me to see, and then the other person finally sees it, a month or two later, we usually don't talk about it again until end of the year, like a award type show. So I think this will be good to kind of give another side to some of these films. I got a decent handful here that I have watched. So let's actually start with the ones that Ty has already seen. That way I can add my input into here, and then we can get like our official consensus scores here, and I can give a little update on where we currently are in the rankings for, man, we're over halfway through 2025 so far. So we got a little under halfway to go. There's some movies coming out that I think will jump to the top of at least my leaderboard here. We'll see what ends up happening. There's always movies that come out that surprise us, and we'll kind of go from there. So let us start with the movie I watched last night. Ty saw it the week it came out, and that is the F1 movie. And man, I just want to start with saying I was super excited for this movie. I do watch F1. I enjoy it quite a bit. I've been to the race here in Austin, and I enjoy it quite a bit. So I was excited for this film. We ended up watching it last night, and I gotta say, I was underwhelmed. It really sucks to say due to how excited I was. So this is in the front running for me for biggest disappointment. It was okay. I ended up at a 6 out of 10. Ty had it at a 9.2. And it is actually currently, with just Ty's rating, sitting at the top of our ratings. Obviously, with mine now in here, that brings it down to our 12th overall movie. So it is now outside of that top 10 for the year, and it's impossible for it to climb its way back up. So yeah, like I said, just a little disappointing. The action of the movie was good. I enjoyed the actual racing scenes and everything. I thought some of the dialogue was pretty stupid. I thought they made oh boy, what's his name? Pierce's character a little bit annoying. Just kind of like a drama queen type deal. It kind of felt more like an NBA or an NFL star guy who's just way too big in his head and everything like that. I think that's exactly what they were going for, of course. But some of the character decisions just didn't make sense and really bugged me. Obviously Pierce didn't like Sonny Hayes coming in to be the other driver. It's of course competition and everything, but for the most part, they were okay getting along. Sonny was doing the strategy and everything, and it was working extremely well. And then, of course, Pierce got into his accident because he wanted to try to overtake, and it obviously didn't work. He got real fucked up. And they were clicking. They were actually acting like teammates. Sonny wanted Pierce to win throughout most of the movie. It felt like, yes, he was like, oh, he has to try to pass me. We don't let anyone pass without a fight. Anyone, blah, blah, blah. But that really didn't seem to last very long before they started coming up with strategies and ways for the team to win as a whole and, get in the top 10, score some points. So that was weird when he came back and Pierce came back and he just started acting like a dick again for what I could tell was no reason. That just didn't make any sense to me at all. Then that weird scene where Sonny is confronting him in the hallway, and there's like reporters really fucking far down the hallway trying to take pictures, and he's like doing weird poses and like talking to them when they're super far away. That was really stupid. It just felt like a really poorly written character. With Lewis Hamilton kind of being the consultant for this movie, I was hoping Pierce's character would kind of be a little bit more like him. You know, when Lewis was younger, of course, he was kind of hothead, but the way he spoke was always cool, calm, collected. And now it's hard to say he's still the face currently, but he was the face of F1 for such a long time, and obviously people still love him. So I don't know. It was just, it felt childish. Yes, there's going to be tempers and everything when you're competing essentially for your job. So that's fine, but just the way they had him written was weird. Some of the dialogue again was stupid. You know, he's in the Sonny's in the diner and he's like, "Oh, what would you do?" And they're like, "Well, how much money?" Or the waitress, and he's like, "Oh, it's not about the money." And then she goes, "What's it about?" Just like laughs. I'm like, "Oh, okay." I mean, I get what you're conveying, and then that's how the movie ends when he's going to the Baja, whatever, to race in the sand, and he's like, "Oh no, it's not about the money." And they're like, "What's it about?" And he laughs, and the movie ends. I'm like, all right. I don't know if the writers thought they had something really cool there. They didn't, but they obviously thought they did because they did it multiple times. So that was kind of annoying. It was also long. 2.5 hours for this felt very long. That was kind of a shame. I also didn't like how I guess it kind of makes sense that, you know, Sonny has an accident and then his like spinal issues start to come up again, you know, the paralysis I guess flared up after his accident. But like it was not an issue through what, 2 hours, an hour 45 of the movie, and then it just is. Wasn't a super fan of that. So I think this would be a fun movie to watch, you know, D box, IMAX. We didn't get to do that sadly, but the story itself, it just it just wasn't there. So that's why I ended up a 6 out of 10 on that one. I really, really wanted to enjoy it. I was looking forward to this movie quite a bit. It just didn't land, sadly. Next movie, even worse here. So Todd saw The Materialists quite a bit ago. I think it was around when it came out. And I actually forgot about it until my dad texted me, was like, "Hey, is that movie available to rent yet?" I'm like, "Maybe." And I looked it up and it was. I'm like, "Oh, okay, I guess I'll watch it too." Hated it. I knew going in, and I should have trusted myself that I wasn't going to like it because I hated Past Lives. I thought it was just horrendous. And so Celine Song, writer-director for Past Lives, is the writer-director for this. But against my better judgment, I went and watched it because Chris Evans, Pedro Pascal. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I like them. And they were fine. The acting was fine throughout the entire movie. It's just, again, the writing is horrendous. I've said it twice this episode already. Celine Song, much like how she did for Past Lives, just writes things that happen just because. For example, and this is a spoiler for the movie. If you care, you shouldn't care because it's horrible. Lucy, Dakota Johnson's character, is in a pretty heavy relationship with Pedro Pascal's character. And you see that he bought a ring. He's about to go and propose to her in Iceland when they go. And out of nowhere, she just kind of flips out and breaks up with him because she saw that he had the leg height gain surgery, which wasn't the issue itself, but that's kind of what led to the discussion of them breaking up. And then, you know, one of her clients was sexually assaulted while on a date that she set up. And that just like domino effects into this. That could have been okay if not even a day later after breaking up with the guy who was going to propose to her, she immediately runs back to the guy that she said she didn't want to be with because poor money, whatever, and it's a title materialist, immediately ends up back with him, wants to stay at his house, kissing him. They go up to stay in some hotel. They end up at some random wedding that they just crashed. They're dancing. It's like, that's so fucking stupid. Like, you knew it was going to happen because that's what happens in all of these romance movies. It's like, oh, there's this rich dude and rich is bad. I can be with this poor guy and be super in love, except I really wasn't in love because I don't really believe in love fully. But the writing just makes that happen in the final 30 minutes of the movie. I fast forwarded after that. I'm like, this is insanely stupid. Ended up calling her the M. Night Shyamalan of romance movies, and that shit just happens, and for no reason. You know, there's a great video of Matt Stone and Trey Parker doing a class up at some college. It might have been Colorado. And they were saying you need, between every beat, you need a because or therefore. And if you don't have that, that means things are just going to jump and happen. There was not a because or therefore between the beats of this movie. It started out pretty interesting. I was in it. I'm like, yeah, it's okay. It's like a 6, 7. And then that happened, and I'm like, okay, that's stupid. Lowered it to a 3. And then they just kept going, and I lowered it to a 2 because they're an hour away from this lady who was assaulted, and the guy shows up at her house again. And the police are like, yeah, we're not showing up to that. Like, why? Why don't they show up to that? Well, because he's not actually in the house. Doesn't make any damn sense. It doesn't make any damn sense. So that's exactly what I mean by Celine Song just kind of writing her own nonsense here to make things happen. If you put any type of thought into that, you're like, oh yeah, that's pretty dumb. So Materialists, big poo-poo. Gave it a 2. 2? Hold up, I gotta make sure. Yep, 2 out of 10. And that, not that it was up there for us to begin with, but my rating really brought it down. Ty had it at a 6, so it's now a 4 consensus rating, which isn't even top 50, I don't think, or won't be. So that movie was butt. Did I see anything else that Ty saw? Let me confirm. Oh, Megan 2.0. Ty did this usually doesn't happen. Usually I'm the pessimist in movies, and Ty always has higher ratings than me. I'm actually looking at our sheet right now, and my average rating is a 5.9, and Ty's is a 6.4. We're much closer together this year, it feels like. Yeah, way closer together. So Ty gave it a 3.5. He was not a fan of Megan. Ended up watching it. My wife wanted to see it. I'm like, okay. You know, Ty told me it's not great, so I need to temper my expectations here. And maybe that's why I ended up liking it more, was because I had my expectations so low. So ended up watching it, and to start off, it is not a horror movie. This is more of like a action comedy thriller type, if that makes any sense. It is not horror like the first one tried to be. There's way more comedy in this one. It's not like jump scares or anything. It's like, hey, there's another AI that's trying to kill people. Let's use Megan to help fight it. And I'm like, okay, sure. That actually, in my mind, made it a bit better. So I got to remove it from this horror genre here. I'm going to put it as an action, I guess. That made it better because it didn't work as a horror movie. I have a really tough time when they try to do like the horror comedy movies. It never works for me. I need it to either be so stupid and they dig into it and they know it's stupid. I can't do the movies that take themselves too seriously while trying to be a comedy horror. It doesn't work. So that usually brings me very much out of the movie if that happens. So I'm glad that they kind of took a step back and they're like, hey, the horror bit didn't work, basically because this is Abigail, but with a robot instead of a doll, which also Abigail murdered that dude that was moving her around. So that guy deserved that. I don't. Why would you ever do that? It was Abigail, right? Abigail, right? Annabelle, not Abigail. Annabelle murdered that dude that was taking her on a tour. What an idiot. That's on him. He shouldn't have done that. Um, but yeah, I ended up okay with this. 6 out of 10, which is again shocking to me, especially because I just gave F1 a 6 out of 10. I think I put F1 ahead of it. Maybe F1's more of like a 6.25, 6.5, something like that. Megan, it's probably more of a high five, low six is how I'm putting that. I think that's it. I think those are all the movies. Oh no, I saw Ballerina as well. That was good. Nothing's super special about it. Just solid action. I gave that a 7 out of 10. Wasn't the best thing I've ever seen. Obviously not as good as the John Wicks, but it was interesting enough for me. So that ends up still has a chance at the top five, it looks like here, because Ty had it at a 9, and I have it at a 7, so that's a consensus of 8. So right now it is actually tied for 5th place in our rankings. Now let's talk about some older movies that I ended up watching over the past probably month or so. I'm gonna go with. Let's start with Airplane. Yeah, started watching some really old movies, trying to get ready for the Naked Gun. So Airplane, classic spoof comedy slapstick type deal. It was okay. It's good that these movies are pretty short. It's not even an hour and a half. Otherwise, there's only so much you can you can take from this kind of comedy. But it was okay. It was funny. You get your laughs in there, and more what I liked about it was that if you watch any type of a Family Guy, any South Park, those comedy shows, you'll start to understand some of the bits that they do because they kind of took them from this movie. And apparently they like to put sports stars in these movies. In this one they have Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and then I also watched the first Naked Gun, and friggin' OJ is in it. They don't play massive roles or anything. OJ actually just gets destroyed the entire time, which is pretty funny. But yeah, kind of funny that these guys just gonna throw in random sports stars of the time. So Airplane, it was okay. Gave it a 6 out of 10. Wanted to watch the original Naked Gun here before the new one comes out with Liam Neeson. That looks like it'll probably be pretty good. Another surprise here, I'm guessing. Airplane, 6 out of 10. The original Naked Gun, I gave a 8 out of 10. It was just silly. You need a good laugh, put it on. There's stupid comedy all throughout. I can definitely see how people wouldn't like this movie if that's not their cup of tea of comedy. Is kind of like really stupid slapstick type deal. It's kind of more like older SNL is what it feels like. But if you're gonna go and see the new Naked Gun, you should see the old one first because it is quite good. Any other old movies I saw? Pawn Sacrifice I watched. It's about Bobby Fischer, the chess guy, taking on the Russians during the Cold War. It was okay. It's hard to make chess super exciting. I did not know that Bobby Fischer was kind of a nutcase, so that was interesting to learn. Tobey Maguire does a great job. 6 out of 10 on that one as well. What else we got here? I'll finish it up here with a newer movie. Ended up seeing Karate Kid Legends. I'll talk about it a little bit more on the main show, but did see Karate Kid Legends. Obviously, this was a big movie in the 80s, and then you got the remake with Jaden Smith and Jackie Chan, and then you get the Cobra Kai show, which is really what got me into it because, again, it is not the best of shows, but it's entertaining enough that you want to stick through it. So Karate Kid Legends, they throw Jackie Chan and Ralph Macchio on the cover here. They are actually not in it a ton. Jackie Chan's there at the beginning and then comes back well over halfway through the movie. And then Ralph Macchio comes in for the last 15, 20 minutes maybe. It was okay. It did not try to do too much, which was key. It's also not super long. It's a kid moves from China to New York City, has to fight because the girl he likes, dad, needs some money. Basic story. It's a Karate Kid story. You're not going to get something super in depth. But the fighting was fun. It was different than the other Karate Kid movies because it's not, oh, you're learning from the beginning how to fight. He's already known Kung Fu from Jackie Chan, who is his uncle. Yes, his uncle. So he was already somewhat trained. You have to have the training montage that is in there when Ralph Macchio comes because he has to learn Miyagi-Do karate. But it was fun enough. That's really all I can say. If you want something to kind of just throw on, sit back, not have to pay too much attention to, this is probably a good movie for that. The main kid, Ben Wang, who plays the main guy, he was very good. I liked him quite a bit in this. It actually looks like he's going to be in the next Hunger Game movie. So hopefully, his career kind of continues here because he did a good enough job as, a teenage actor. But that is all I got here for this little mini episode. Just about gonna hit on a half hour here. Just wanted to get something released this week to give some thoughts on some movies. And then, like I said, we'll be hitting it for the main show here in the next couple days. So we will see you then.